Hi there, I'm Steve Cochran and welcome to Top End Safari. In this film we're going to take you to parts of Australia that you probably didn't even know existed, along with those which are basically household names. Now our journey starts in southeast Queensland, where we're going to be having a look around the Hervey Bay Fraser Island region. Now this area is famous for its whale migration each year, and we hope to see a whale or two in the process of our travels. From there we'll be making our way up to central Queensland to Stanage Bay, and basically having a look at the fishing of the area, the mud crabbing, just basically see what people living in the area do in general. From there it's up to the Whitsundays. I think we all know of the Whitsundays. We're going to have a look at the islands and the Outer Barrier Reef from the land, the sea and the air, which is also the most important way to do it, as you're about to find out in this film. From there we're up to the Daintree, around Cairns, then all the way through to Cape York, which is basically a fishing mecca. We're going to take it easy from there and move our way down across the Gulf, up into Arnhem Land, and from there back down across into the Simpson Desert, the largest area of parallel sand dunes in the world, and then back home to our base point of Rockhampton, Central Queensland. Now with me I've got Nathan Southwood, who's going to be joining me for the journey and showing us a thing or two about catching some of those big ones. Hey Nathan, what do you reckon, mate? You going to pick up one or two?
Oh, I reckon I will.
Yeah, alright, we'll see about that. We've got a running bet that he thinks he's going to outdo me, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to show him how it's done. And with me, of course, my lovely wife Lana, who's going to be basically stopping me from going insane on this trip. Our trip begins in southeast Queensland in the Hervey Bay Fraser Island region. Fraser Island is the world's largest sand island and is approximately 124 kilometres long. Vehicle access to the island is permitted and achieved via a number of car ferry services that transport vehicles. However, it's all sand, so a four-wheel drive is the only viable vehicle to bring. The crossing itself from Hervey Bay to Fraser Island is spectacular, with the bay playing host in the winter months to the Antarctic's large colony of humpback whales during their migration back to cooler southern waters. These massive but gentle and inquisitive creatures never fail to put on a great show for the many appreciative travellers who get to view these mighty mammals, and they make for some great campfire conversations at the end of the day once settled on the island itself. Fraser Island is home to coloured sands that range from dark red right through to near white in colour. These sands form layers of colour in the cliffs that they create and almost give the appearance of being rock. However, closer inspection reveals they are entirely made of sand. That was a fantastic couple of days in Hervey Bay.
We're heading up north to Stanage Bay now in central Queensland. It's about 70 k's north of Rockhampton and about another 100 kilometres of dirt road. So as you've probably noticed, the roads are getting a bit rougher now, and I don't think that's likely to improve for most of the rest of this film.
Beautiful, man. Bit of lunch.
What a ride. I nearly dropped the camera about 7 times and Nathan just about came out of the boat altogether. Now you've really got to move in and out of these areas quickly with the tides the way they are, as you saw by the driving in this last clip. You really, if you don't get out of here quickly, you're going to get stuck by tides which move so quickly and are so rapid that you can be left in the dry for 5 to 6 hours at a time, where mosquitoes and sandflies will just basically have you for dinner. So we're going to slow things down a little bit now and have a look at the reefs just off this area of Stanage Bay and see if we can't get a fish or two for dinner as the sun goes down. Our first stop on the way to the reefs is the Percy Island chain, which lies about 70 kilometres out to sea in the southern Barrier Reef. It's a favourite stop for yachties, who usually leave something behind in this beach hut to mark their visit to the island. Over the years, the hut's become something of a maritime museum, with many boats leaving their old signs or buoys. Being close to the Swains Reef, this area is also a fishing hotspot with large reef fish on offer if you know where to look. So after a good night's sleep with friends at the homestead on Percy Island, we're ready to make the 70-kilometre journey back to the mainland. We're driving from Stanage Bay today, back out to the highway and north to the town of Airlie Beach, gateway to the Whitsunday Island chain. The Whitsundays are a tourism mecca with a range of accommodation and activities to suit all tastes, from the sedate to the more adventurous. Our journey through the island starts at Hamilton Island, which is the main island port of the Whitsundays. From here we're helicoptering down to South Long Island to stay with a friend who has a boutique resort named Whitsunday Wilderness Lodge. Now this is another special place that's worth the extra effort to get to. After having a look around by sea, we're going to meet up with a seaplane pilot who'll take us on a short run out to the Outer Barrier Reef. And this is one of the best ways to see the vivid contrast of the fringe reefs, along with the many fantastic waterways around the islands. What's more, the beauty of a seaplane is you can park practically anywhere for a quick snorkel or dive. time to make our way north again now. Our next stop is Port Hinchinbrook and the nearby Hinchinbrook Island. This is a great region for small boats with near year-round protection from ocean swell. The island itself juts up straight up out of the ocean, forming high peaks close to the sand, and the beaches are memorable to say the least. What's more, you can even feed the local pet fish. It's a large Queensland groper, which is a protected species. Just don't get your hand too close. A little further north of Port Hinchinbrook is the Cairns region. Gateway to a fantastic section of the Great Barrier Reef, Cairns plays host to thousands of tourists from around the world each year who come here to explore the reef in a range of different ways. Today we're going to be looking at some of the ways to enjoy this fantastic part of the world. It's time to take to the air again. This morning we're heading out from Cairns by seaplane to Green Island, which is about a 25-minute flight. As with the Whitsunday region, the reef can be seen clearly from the air. Green Island is fringed by coral gardens. The sandy beaches are so close to the reefs that a boat isn't really necessary to go diving or snorkeling. In some areas the reef begins just a few feet from the sand. Whilst in Cairns, it's also worth taking a look at the Sky Rail, which climbs up into the rainforest, eventually arriving at the small rainforest town of Kuranda. Having a look at this type of rainforest from above really highlights the density of the rainforest. Just up from Cairns lies the Daintree Rainforest, the oldest rainforest in the world. The Daintree is one of the wettest locations in Australia, with annual rainfall usually exceeding 9 metres. The rainforest is as ancient as it is beautiful, and it plays host to a myriad of wild and wonderful creatures, including rare bird life such as the cassowary and giant reptiles such as the amethystine python. Now we're staying in a place here in the Daintree that's home to 3 large amethystine pythons who moved in from the rainforest. These snakes average between 13 and 16 feet long and are generally placid creatures unless provoked. However, they also like to find a warm place to snuggle up, which has been known to be under the blankets from time to time. I guess the urge would be to kick them out in fear if you had one of these in bed with you, but I think that'd be more than enough provocation for a snake like this to strike. I guess the main tip would be to stay still if in that position. Whilst in the Daintree, we recommend a journey by boat along the Daintree River. Now there's a number of boats in the region catering to tourists, including those especially for crocodile watching. Today we're with birdwatching expert Chris Dahlberg on one of his tours. Unlike the larger boats, Chris is able to get into some of the much tighter waterways, and the trip's worth it for the scenery alone, even if you're not an accomplished birdwatcher. Chris's tours usually leave about dawn, so you have to be up bright and early, but it's well worth the effort. Moving north again, we're making our way up the Bloomfield Track to Cooktown. This is the last regional town to pick up supplies before the journey to the tip of Cape York. Whilst here, we're having a look at Elim Beach, part of the Hopevale Aboriginal community. Similar to Fraser Island, the beach itself is lined with coloured sands, which are in turn dwarfed by the massive silica sand dunes around the foreshore area. A little further north and we begin the trek into Cape York. Our first stop is Lakefield National Park, where we begin to find the lily ponds of Northern Australia. The park's home to rare bird life and flora, as well as numerous excellent camping locations along the many rivers within the park. Now we're well into estuarine crocodile country now, and it's reasonable to assume that every waterway contains these reptiles. We can assure you the murkier creeks and rivers of the area are not places to go swimming, no matter how hot it gets. We're now making our way up the inland road to the Northern Peninsula. Starting at Laura, we make our way through towns such as Cowan and regions such as the Archer River area that runs through Rokeby National Park. Along the way, we're going to make a little detour out to the east coast. Here you'll find the lush tropical rainforest area that makes up a part of the Iron Range National Park. In this region is the town of Portland Roads, the Aboriginal mission of Lockhart River, and the picturesque Chile Beach. Now this is a completely dry alcohol area, so if you're thinking of coming here, leave the esky back down the track somewhere. penalties for possessing alcohol in this region can be as high as a $75,000 fine and confiscation of your vehicle. Alcohol restrictions are something to be taken seriously here in Cape York.
Yeah, come on down that dirt road. Get some dirt in your eye.
From this point on, the roads to the Northern Peninsula deteriorate significantly. There's two to choose from. One's the old telegraph track with its numerous water crossings and their steep embankments, or the new Peninsula Development Road, which tends to be more corrugated. Now, we don't recommend taking a trailer on the telegraph track at all due to the steep entries and exits at water crossings, and also suggest that you tie everything down if using the development road. Another good way to travel is to send your trailer or boat from back at Cairns by car ferry to the Northern Peninsula, so it'll be waiting there for you when you get there.
Searching for some soul. My dear old woman, sick and tired of this country shack. Well, this man walked up to me and said, "What you growing, farmer boy?" Yeah, the man walked up to me and said, "What you growing, farmer boy?" Yeah, I looked him in the eye and said, "Everything that no one wants." Yeah, we've been scratching around this dusty ground for 1,000 years.
Just before you reach the Jardine River crossing and enter the Northern Peninsula, you come across some great crocodile-free waterfalls that are a blessing at the end of a long and dusty road. These include Twin Falls, Elliot and Fruitbat Falls. In some areas the water is in excess of 10 feet deep, with the bottom usually visible should you want to dive in, or alternately you can just sit under a waterfall and massage away the impact of those corrugations. So after a convenient shower that helped get some of the dust off, we finally made it to the tip. On the road up we lost 5 jerry cans off the trailer, blew out a tyre, snapped the boat springs and lost a supposedly unbreakable spotlight. Yep, it was a pretty uneventful run for a trip to the tip. From here it's time to pull out the fishing gear and meet up with our mate Pricey, who's going to put us onto the big ones. But first we're going to pick up some live bait from underneath the Seisha Wharf.
Come on down that dirt road, get some dirt in your eye. Me and my dear old woman, sick and tired of this country shack. Come on now. Come on down that dirt road, get some dirt in your eye. Yeah, come on down that dirt road, get some dirt in your eye. Yeah, me and my dear old woman, sick and tired of this country shack. Yeah, me and my dear old woman, sick and tired of this country shack. Me and my dear old woman, sick and tired of this country crap.
So we're here with Neil Price from Cape York Fishing Safaris, and he's the man to see up here if you want to be put on the spot for fishing. So we're going to put him on the spot for fishing. What do you reckon we're going to find up here, Neil?
Barra, jacks in this section, the odd finger mark,
Yep.
cod of course. We've had a good run of barra, but not big barra,
Yep.
which all the guides on the Cape are finding at the moment, which is terrific to see. You know, that the estuary's healthy and you don't mind catching a few small fish.
Yeah, well that's one thing I noticed up here. The guides really seem to work together. You seem to stick in pretty close with each other and find out what each other's catching and keep a good eye on the fish stocks and management, etc. of the area.
Yeah, well, we're all pretty sort of lazy,
Yep.
and if we work together it saves a lot of searching.
Fair enough.
Conserving fish stocks, of course, as well. My son's 18 years old, he's just started his career in guiding, and we all want fish for him and the future generations to catch.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I see release is a big part of your program here. In fact, well, in the days we've had a fish so far, we've only taken one fish maybe of an evening for a feed, and pretty well made a point of releasing everything else, and even being quite specific on species as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, looking after the mangrove jacks and all that.
Yeah, well, jacks, last year jacks were thin on the ground, so
Yep.
we're trying to look after the jacks
Fantastic.
at the moment. We've still got a good environment, and it's better to be protected before it's too late
That's
rather
right.
than afterwards.
Yeah,
And our pelagic fishing does suffer from what happens down south, but the estuary species, that's up to us. We do have some control over looking after that area of this fishery.
and how do you go with the lizards up here, mate? The big ones with the teeth?
Oh, we got a bit of an agreement. Yeah, they stay out of my boat and I stay out of their water.
Fair enough, mate.
Um,
Don't go swimming's the point of that, you think?
Don't go swimming anywhere silly.
Yeah.
That crop we saw today just out the front of this creek, you know, he was up on the sandbars. He was easy to see. If you want to have a swim, find somewhere that's not deep.
Mm-hmm.
White sand, or at least 200 metres of white sand all around you. You can have a quick dip, keep somebody on watch in the boat. Obey the rules. The
Absolutely.
rules are simple. You don't go near a deep drop off.
Sure.
It's not like, I suppose realistically, these are laws, not rules.
Absolutely, and for your own safety, you really don't want to get out here and do anything without really a bit of expertise or even local knowledge, as we call it around here. And you know, we came up here without Neil's help for a couple of days, and pretty well we are firmly of the belief now that you need a guide in this area if you want to get around safely, because you really need someone to know of the pitfalls of the area and how to get out of trouble quickly if you need to. The weather changes here quite rapidly from time to time, doesn't it, as you're coming up and down the coastline?
Yeah,
Makes for an interesting run from time to time.
and the wind pattern's different to a lot of the rest of Australia. It's an area of trade wind.
For sure. Well, it's quite
So-
strange having a west and east coast as such in such close proximity to each other. You know, you've got opposing currents.
Oh yeah,
Working.
and it's pretty cool the fact that you can drive from one side of Queensland to the other in 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll just drive across the state. I'll be back in quarter of an
Oh,
hour.
that's right. Yeah. Well, there's not too many
And,
people in Queensland who could say that. That's for sure.
No, and of course the further north you go from here, the less of the time is. But you can't really go much further north from here.
That's it, unless you can swim quite quickly. For
Well,
sure.
the tip's 32 k's from our house.
Fine. Yeah. So, what do you think we're going to see out here today? A few barra, perhaps?
I'm fairly confident we'll catch
Excellent.
barra. I'm not sure what size, but we will catch barra.
So that's the big tip for today. We're on to the barra. Let's see how we go.
sort of took off there on you, mate. Sort of sped up a little bit.
It's doing nothing for ages and suddenly.
Not yet. Ready for him to come up, mate? Look down the line, mate.
I don't think so. I think he's got you in the sticks, brother.
Forget it. Oh, no, here comes his up. Just
He's
keep
out
filming,
now.
mate. Keep
He's
filming.
out. It's a jack.
Just keep filming, mate.
It's not going to jump. It's a jack.
No
And
problem, mate.
it's
a much bigger jack.
it's a hell jack. It's an
Film down here, mate. Just here where I'm, just in front of me, mate. Here it comes. That's a fish. Well, hang on. Give him one more. Let him run. Let him run. Here he comes. He's going to come through the pot there. And thank you very much.
in.
Yep. Is it? Oh, yep. Rightio.
Now that is a nice jack.
Mangrove jack. Probably about the 3 kilo mark. And got in under the trees and come back out again after a day of getting busted off just about half the time. But late afternoon, they're starting to come back on again here in the Jardine. Yay!
Barrett. Oh! We're in. We're out.
Beautiful.
I'm going to do the right thing and finish this smoke before I bring it in the boat.
Nice barra.
Again, I'll just lift him off the line. Excuse me, Steve.
That's a nice one.
We're getting them there.
So this will be a barra.
From the fighting, the way it's fought, I'd say it was a jack. And from the look of it and the colour of it, I'd still say it was a jack. It's not a bad jack, though.
Beautiful.
Ah,
Lovely little splash just to make his presence felt. Beautiful fish. Another table size mangrove jack. We're in about the 2.5 kilo mark.
Oh.
1.75. Similar feeding pattern. Hey! That's out in the open.
And it's a barra.
He's out, he's come round.
I've got.
He's come round, he's come round. You champion. You champion.
Come on.
Where's that net, Nathan?
You're right, mate. Well, we got 2 hooks in him.
Double hook up. He ain't going nowhere now. Who wants him? Back to the original owner? You got that net, Nathan?
She's right. I'll lift him.
Alrighty.
You're right.
Nice.
We're working our way up the scale.
That's right.
Look where the prick's hooked, right where I want to put my thumb.
Yep. It's a perfect tree hanger. I like that. Ooh, no. Good now. Still filmed it?
Yeah.
Oh. So there you go. We didn't actually see a bite, but it's gone.
Come on.
Nice. That's hectic.
So much for the lock drag.
Cool, Hart.
Yeah.
Where is he?
I don't know. I just want to clear that timber. Oh,
Barra.
Big snapshot.
Through it.
Throw it. Well, got the footage just the same, mate.
Good.
And nice footage it was too.
Nice barra.
Lovely little barra. I mean, a bit funny, isn't he?
Yeah, he hit it on the way in. I was just retrieving. I felt the bite. I thought I'd lost my bait and... Hey!
You're not even hooked up.
The hook wasn't in him at all.
Wowee. And that's how they're biting this afternoon. They're not even hungry. They're just
So,
chasing you for their territory.
Okay, well, he can go back and grow into a female.
Just about reuse that bait.
I am. Come on. Finger Mark Nathan, we call him.
It takes about 2 seconds, it's straight in. Doesn't worry about doing any of the theatrics stuff, this bloke is just like one. Barely have time to turn the camera on and he's already got on the boat.
Cheers, Nathan.
You know, like no net, no gaff, no nothing, he's just got it in his hand. It's lucky the camera came on just in time. He's actually caught 37 so far, but the other 36 we couldn't get because the camera didn't quite turn on before he'd already filleted it and sent it to market. Oh, nice head jump. You filming, mate? Yeah. Did you get that?
Yep.
Good, mate. Nice barra. He's going to do another one here. Beautiful. He following too. Look out there. That shit. What's going on?
Got the ears full, sorry.
You're right, mate. And we've got a barra. And it's a beauty.
It's a better fish.
Absolutely. What that record thing said there, have you noticed? I would say call it, was it? I can't believe what's going on out there. Now that you've got that. Oh, isn't that a fantastic?
They're a beautiful colour.
Beautiful saltwater barra.
Hey,
Real healthy. About 58 centimetres.
yeah, not a big fish, but a nice fish.
Very respectable.
Handy fish to catch.
That's all right.
Okay, back you go.
It's
I've got a
stress.
cold
It's
stress.
stress in the Jardine on a Thursday afternoon. That's about the 5th barra out.
Didn't really have a drought, we just couldn't land them.
That's right. And we've all got one in the boat now in the last hour or two and had a bit of lunch and everyone's sitting here all sort of happy. I tell you, the guy who just got that barra, I bet you if I turn the camera right now, watch the look on his face. There it is! Yeah, he's still beaming away. Back to the action.
Problem is, you know. You wouldn't read about it.
Hey mate.
Hey,
Oh my god.
any fool can hook them in the mouth. That's easy.
What a catch.
What I was doing was thinking of increasing the size of me liveys.
There you go. You got a bigger lifeboat. That's your fault. Too slow to grab the camera, mate. Your fault totally. The cameraman caused this. He's sitting there smiling, looking at me. What's this nodding no? Don't believe him. It's just, that was the boat. It's going up and down and up and down.
Whilst the Jardine River may appear inviting, it's by no means an easy place to get a boat through. Shallow sandbanks are constantly on the move in this area, which means taking it easy if you don't know the area. If you break down in these parts, you might be waiting for help for a few days. After a top night of feasting on fresh fish, we're up bright and early. This morning's one of those rare days when the Torres Strait goes to glass. The water's become so calm that even the smallest of boats can fish offshore reefs. Given that Pricey reckons these days occur only 4 or 5 times a year, we're not about to waste the opportunity, so today we're heading straight out into the blue water and we're going to make our way out to the Albany Island chain on the east coast of Australia via the tip. Now usually winds and swell ensure this place is well off limits, so when you can get here, the fish are usually more than a little keen to take a bait.
Yeah.
Close to those rocks while you were playing that. I was looking at you for about 1 second out of every minute, I think, and the rest of the time just seeing how close I was getting.
So, we're going to come for a look around this side.
Take a line off him pretty... Oh no, here he goes. Yeah, off you go, mate. Here he comes. He's pretty small. Okay, look at him, mate. He's nearly out. He's popping. He's got one good squirt left in him.
It's going to be drama if you come forward a step so that when I take the next shot.
Here's a trevally.
Behind you.
Yeah, mate. Here we go. Beautiful.
Little one.
Little trevally. That's a giant trevally, a bit smaller this time, but still not a bad fish, and we're having a beautiful day out here. Probably about 15 k's east of Cape York right now, and in the island currents. Settle down, matey. But this one's a nice fish, nice and healthy.
Speak for yourself.
And Pricey's not too happy because it's just
Tail whacked.
tail whacked him in the private parts. What do you reckon, Pricey? You want to smile for the camera right now, mate?
It's a false smile.
It's a false smile. There's acting for you, mate.
See, you reckon it didn't hurt?
Right, it hurt. We're on again after a giant trevally.
Another giant trevally.
That's going another one. Could be, well, probably another trevally.
It's a unit. You want to go around the other side?
Yeah, mate, I'm watching you. Flying him. Better one, this one by the looks of it. It's a Noah. Noah. What a happy shark fight, man. He's gonna pull him out and cut him. Say goodbye. Save his hand.
That's that tiny little tomato cod.
Steve, it's Steve's coral trout. It's the cooked version.
How close is he? Can you get
He's making him work for it. Look at that. Not collar just yet.
No.
He's a fighter. Strong bugger.
Let's just hold the bottom. Got it up now.
Here he comes. Coming up off the bottom. Doesn't want to come up, but he's doing. I have no choice about that. That's a shark. And here he comes. Not a bad looking little shark. Big photo, Nathan.
Oh, lovely shark, except for the fact he's got me good woggy stuck in his gob and
Yeah.
does it know itself?
He's a player. He's a player. I'll give him that, but he's coming up. Ah! He was coming up. Come on, mate, you can do him. He's cooked well.
You're right, mate.
He's a fighter. What do you reckon, mate? You having fun? Yeah. Smile for the camera. It's coming up.
Oh,
Shark.
what?
Shark.
Oh, you're joking. We're out of here. It can't be a shark. It should have bitten himself.
No, well, hang on. I'm mistaken. Could be wrong. It looked like a shark down deep. Let's have a look up a bit closer, right? He's going to go for a big pull soon.
Just take that.
There's a big pull.
Hey, line off the rod off the boat. Yeah.
Big pull. I don't know if he's a shark or not.
Anybody with a brain would use a heavier rod. Oh, hang on, that's my rod.
Just going to bring him up alongside now. Bronze whaler. Only about 3 foot, but still you wouldn't want to keep towing his mouth. As you can see, he's full
Got me
of stuff.
sinker back if I was quick.
Full of beans. Hopefully he's going to get up his lunch without too much of a drama. We might even just leave it at that and call it a day, I think. How on earth do you do that, mate? Any special comments you'd like to make? Shit. I don't think you're going to be reusing that line for a while.
Nah, we're just going to... Barracuda, by the way.
Yeah, a little chomper.
It's a long time.
Herring. Sharp teeth on these little
Have a
ones.
look at that horrible great thing. Right? Yeah,
Sharp teeth, alright.
and lots of them. Yours goes right.
Yep.
You go back. Down, mate. Would have been nice.
I'd expect the head down going across the front of that rock.
5 foot.
Yes.
There he goes. That's him.
Another long top.
Yeah.
He's off.
There we go. Out of the current here. We found ourselves in. Amazing the way the water moves around here. What's following him?
Queen.
Greenfish following him up. Oh, they're here. It's active. This is a spot to troll at the moment. We've seen about 4 fish come up in the last 20 minutes or so. And they're all decent size. It's a good game. This is fun.
You get his teeth.
I'm getting him on the video.
Beauty. Over.
Over and out.
Little tiny queenie.
Little greenfish.
So what we should be able to do now, Steve, is crank this flat out across the surface
Yeah.
and hopefully get them busting behind it for
Yeah.
you.
Slide across the surface.
Oh, look at them on it.
Bang, bang, bang. That is unreal. Look at those queenfish everywhere. Are they going to hit it? Oh, they
They were bigger fish too.
have a go at it by the looks of it. There they come again.
Yep.
Bang. He's on.
Off,
Off.
on,
Bang. On.
off,
Off.
off, missed.
It's on and off again. Classic.
This should be good for you.
Yep. We're going to have another hit. Here we go again. Oh.
Off,
Oh.
on, line everywhere. They're on it.
Yeah, there he goes again. Hey! Another one. Lovely little queenfish.
There are some bigger fish out there if I can get them.
Starting to show an interest.
No. Yeah. No.
Yep, no, yep, no. That's how many times these fish are hitting this little slug here.
If I slow it down,
Queenies
I'll-
everywhere.
Just fire him out. He's off.
He's off
He's
and
on.
he's come off.
Yeah,
and
Nathan, I'm sick of it.
Bryce's had enough. He's just got too many of them now. There's Nathan with his first queenie. A little bit more like a princess than a queenie, but the fish just the same, and a good sporting fish at that.
That's going to come straight from.
Yeah. Oh,
Off. Back. Keep on. She'll be on again.
on. Oh. Ripped it out of his mouth that time. With the afternoon sea breeze set to pick up, we're going to leave the east coast, have a quick lunch in Seisha, and then make a quick run west into the northern section of the Gulf of Carpentaria. We're heading for the Wallis Island chain, which is a trolling hotspot. We won't be staying long, however, as the sea breeze is set to chop things up for the ride home.
Oh. Yeah, plenty.
Okay, here he comes up again, alright? He's going to come virtually up
27.
quickly. Here he comes. Oh no, he's naked. Ah, there he is.
Oh!
See if we can get another one. There he goes. And another one, mate. He'll do one here. Here we go. Give me a lift, come on. Nah, he's buggered. Alrighty. One queenfish. And in and out he goes.
And out
Fighting
it comes
till
and
the
then
last.
he goes again.
Last step, he's still fighting. Awesome.
You want some good food?
Yeah,
Oh, let's just run away.
he's gone again. Bit of
Don't go
exercise,
around
mate. Oh, he's pulling.
Come on. Get out of there. It's a bit awkward, this.
Yeah.
One Spanish mackerel. Small but delicious.
Up you come. Here he comes. Here's the surface shot.
It's still got some stick. Ah!
See, I caught a popper, mate. Yeah.
Oh,
Double. Double bucket. What do you reckon it is?
Queenfish.
Awesome.
It's that big silver thing jumping around out the back.
Ah, is that what it is, mate? I was wondering. Radical.
When you can wine.
Where is he at the moment? Under you? Going for a bit of a run.
Coming up for a jump. Don't be silly. Up the paddy.
He's a fighter.
Come on, fish before we get sharked.
Did he colour yet?
Had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you're in the sun as often as I am, Steve, you're bound to have colour.
I can see him now. Beautiful looking fish. Absolute beauty. Nice.
Thanks, mate. Roll.
Up he comes.
Not doing much to make our life. This is much more organised if I get organised before I catch fish, but
And what was that on the live bait? Or
that
the-
was on an unweighted live bait. We do get them much bigger than this.
Awesome. And what's that, about
This is-
6 kilo?
I'd go a bit under that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we've got the bird still behind us, brother. Mine's not on the bait. Yeah, I should definitely this one.
Little Spanish.
Different. The rod will lock in.
Oh, that's not that little.
That's
a good Spanish.
We can get him back in one
That's
piece.
Spanish.
He's a nice enough fish, but just
What do you reckon, mate? There's one. Left.
little one. Little man. lure, may I add?
Yeah, that was a nice little bit of catch and release, that. Put a lot of effort into it. Lovely.
We get him back in.
Beautiful.
Great.
Action aplenty.
Hard body lures beat gas today, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Bloody barracuda.
Yeah.
Oh, see the blue trevally come up behind him. Where the hell are me flyers?
So after a memorable day's fishing, it's time to make the trip back to Seisha. The wharf's going off this afternoon with schools of marauding trevally and barramundi rounding up and feeding on the bait fish. Now we're going to clean some of the fish with Pricey the Savo in readiness for our next leg of the journey. Pricey's dog Bob is always a great help with this task and loves his daily feed of sushi. On our final day up at the tip, we thought we'd take to the air again. The team at Cape York Helicopters have been kind enough to show us around today, and having the use of a few choppers really increases the excitement. First of all, we're going to make our way out over the tip and across to the Albany Island chain, where we spent yesterday morning fishing. The islands of the region are also well worth a look, with the major community being based on Thursday Island. This well-established community offers all of the modern conveniences and great fishing too. Nearby, numerous smaller islands can be found, including Possession Island, where Captain Cook first laid claim to this country. Now, amongst other ventures, the island people of this region farm pearls, fish commercially, and dive for crayfish to sustain their incomes.
So after a great trip to the tip, we're now making our way down south, heading towards the savanna country of the Gulf of Carpentaria. Our main destination is going to be Corumba, and we're going to stop along the way and have a look at quite a few of the attractions as well that the savanna country has to offer.
The Undara lava tubes are remnants of a bygone era of volcanic activity. As lava drained from these tubes and roof sections collapsed, pockets of rainforest formed in which rainforest creatures thrive to this day. These giant tubes play home to large bat colonies amongst many other creatures. In Aboriginal language, the word Undara means a long way, and one of the lava flows from Undara extends 160 kilometres, or 100 miles, making it the longest lava flow from a single volcano on our planet. Moving across the Gulf, we start to reach some of the more remote locations. The first of these is Kobold Gorge, an incredible waterway lined by sandstone cliffs that stretches for more than 6 kilometres. Home to freshwater crocodiles, the waterway is just wide enough for a small boat to travel for the first half a kilometre or so, whilst the entire gorge can be covered on foot. Normanton, in the centre of the Gulf country, plays home to a unique attraction at various times through the week. This is a stop for the Gulflander, an old and somewhat unusual train that has a diesel motor. Fondly referred to as the Old Tin Hare, the Gulflander is one of the world's last great characters of rail travel and takes you on a journey with a difference from remote Normanton through the tough and inhospitable Gulf country. Due to the vast size of the properties from the Gulf country all the way down into central Queensland, it's necessary to use helicopters for both cattle mustering and feral pest control. A major problem in this region is feral pig populations. These creatures wipe out our own wildlife whilst taming waterways. Furthermore, they're a danger to calves and weaker cows as they can be carnivorous. Given their ability to breed rapidly across wide expanses of terrain, the only effective way to get rid of them is by chopper. Corumba is situated on sand ridges where the main mouth of the Norman River enters the sea. Access to Corumba from Normanton is via a 75-kilometre sealed road. Today Corumba is a prosperous modern township with modern motels, supermarkets and office facilities. Corumba is a centre for industrial and commercial development with a wealth of industrial knowledge and experience. The Century Zinc project, the largest zinc-lead mine in the world, utilises Corumba as its export loading and storage operations for the mine project. Corumba is also a major tourism destination with an estimated 80,000 visitors per annum who come to enjoy the pristine environs of this outback by the sea.
There it is. What is it? A stripey. Now, the great moment, the kiss. Sealed with a kiss, baby. What, no kiss for the fish?
Whilst the Norman River is a great spot for estuary fishing, the waters of the Gulf itself are where the real action is. Here large schools of tuna and mackerel can be found, along with bumper-sized catches of prawns. By looking for the activity of frigate birds, schooling fish such as tuna are easily found as they feed on bait fish. Heading back out of the Gulf now, we make our way into northwest outback Queensland. Here we're going to make a quick stop at the town of McKinley. A little off the main road, this was the town used in the film Crocodile Dundee that was named Walkabout Creek. Whilst the town's name might have been fiction, the Walkabout Creek Hotel most certainly is not, and is a sight for sore eyes after a dusty road. It's time to make our way across the border into the Northern Territory now. We're going to make our way up through Arnhem Land and meet up with the Torres Strait. Now permits are required for access into Arnhem Land, and there's quite often a waiting list for tourists keen to fill the few places available. Book well ahead for this one by contacting the Northern Lands Council.
Well, we're now deep into Arnhem Land and heading up to the Coburg Peninsula, where we're going to put the boat in and have a bit of a fish and have a look around the islands of the region. There's some great hunting spots up in this area and some great fishing spots as well. Although I must say the roads aren't that great. One thing about these roads is they look very similar. You really want to have a GPS in these parts if you're going to come driving through here. I tell you, road after road without signs is certainly an area where you need to know exactly where you are as far as positioning goes. Otherwise you'll just get lost.
The Coburg Peninsula is the most northern tip of the Northern Territory and is surrounded by the pristine wilderness of Gurrig-Gunuk-Baloo National Park, including the Coburg Marine Park. This morning we're going to have a look around the islands of the region. For 25,000 years, native Australians, known in the Australia's north as Murris, have called this region home. To this day they still practice traditional hunting methods. A main source of nutrition comes from the dugong or sea cow, which has been hunted by many generations of Murris. As with all food sources, Murris are expert at sustaining their resource and will hunt other animals when numbers appear to decline. Adjacent to Arnhem Land is the Kakadu National Park. The land itself is more than 2 billion years old, whilst the rock art adorning it has been here for 50,000 years or more. There's as many as 5,000 Aboriginal sites identified in Kakadu that contain either rock art or remnants of the existence of countless previous generations. The wetlands of Kakadu are as equally spectacular as the rock art and formations. Today we're going to put the boat in at the Yellow Water floodplain. Yellow Water is located at the end of Jim Jim Creek, a tributary of the South Alligator River. Tour boats also operate at Yellow Water and are a fantastic way to see the diverse range of flora and fauna that belongs at this prehistoric floodplain. We're heading west now to Litchfield National Park. For visitors, Litchfield's main attractions are permanent spring-fed waterfalls, rock holes and magnetic termite mounds. Patches of monsoon rainforest thrive in the deep, narrow gorges created over thousands of years by the force of the waterfalls cutting into the escarpment walls. Nitmiluk National Park is our next stop. The park's been established around a series of gorges, often referred to as Catherine Gorge. These gorges and the surrounding landscape have great ceremonial significance to the local Jawoyn people, who are custodians of Nitmiluk National Park. In Jawoyn, Nitmiluk means place of the cicada dreaming. In the dry season, the gorges become separated as the level of the river falls and are interconnected again in the wet. The gorge provides exceptional scenery by either boat or helicopter. Heading south now, we make our way down the Stuart Highway. Along the way are plenty of stops of interest. The first of these is Mataranka Hot Springs. In the warmest parts, the springs stream merrily away at a temperature of around 32 degrees Celsius. Surrounded by tropical flora and fauna, including the large flying fox colonies that inhabit the area, the springs are a fantastic place to submerge yourself and reinvigorate. Next stop, Stuart Falls for a quick shower. As we travel further south, the lush tropics of the north give way to Australia's arid red centre. The land literally changes from green to red. The Devil's Marbles are one of the first examples of this dramatic landscape change as you make your way down the highway. We're making our way now to the South Australian border, where we'll meet up with the roads leading into the Simpson Desert. Fantastic afternoon in the Simpson Desert. It's quiet, it's still. You couldn't find a better place to come for solitude. But if it's company you want, forget it, because we haven't seen a car or even heard anything on the UHF radio for about, well, the best part of a full day now, so you certainly wouldn't want to get stuck out here, and if you did, you'd want to have plenty of water. So we're going to take it easy this afternoon and settle in for the evening. See if the flies haven't eaten us alive, and then we're going to make our way across to Birdsville first thing in the morning, and from there we're going to make our way home to Rockhampton in central Queensland via Carnarvon Gorge. This morning we complete the trip across the Simpson to Birdsville, and not a minute too soon as a moderate sandstorm hits just as we make it over Big Red, the final sand dune of the 1100 or more dunes that we've had to cross to this point. Big Red's a good test of your sand driving potential. If you make it about as far up the dune as these drivers, you can be sure you're not ready to take on the desert, and a U-turn really is the wisest choice, as it's just not feasible to walk for help out here if something does go wrong. In 1963, an entire family of 5 died when they tried to walk from their broken down vehicle just south of here. we now take to the air again for the final time. Today we're going to fly back over the Simpson and have a look at the dune formations from a range of altitudes, including some lower passes of the dunes. It's a perfect morning for flying. Heading back to Birdsville, we make our way over the Coopers Creek area, home to the famous Burke and Wills dig tree, where the explorers obtained the last of the supplies left for them on their ill-fated journey before perishing. Perhaps less known about this story is the tale of John King, a member of the Burke and Wills small party that did make it all the way to the Gulf. John King was the sole survivor of the expedition due to the help provided to him by the Yantrawanta people. Unfortunately for Burke and Wills themselves, Robert Burke distrusted these people and often chased them and fired his rifle at them. Had he not chosen this course of action, it's likely that Burke and Wills would have also survived with the expert bush tucker knowledge of these desert people. The town of Birdsville itself plays host to a famous horse racing event annually, the Birdsville Cup, and the Birdsville Hotel is also considered a famous Australian landmark. We now make our way out of Australia's Red Centre and back into Western Queensland. We begin to come back into pockets of vegetation again, and will soon be back in the forests of eastern Australia. Our last stop of the journey is Carnarvon Gorge. The gorge is an oasis in the semi-arid heart of Queensland. Here towering white sandstone cliffs form a spectacular steep-sided gorge with narrow, vibrantly coloured side gorges thick with lush remnant rainforest. Aboriginal rock art on the sandstone overhangs is a fragile reminder of the Aboriginal people who used the gorge for thousands of years. So after a couple of months on the road, we return to our hometown of Rockhampton in central Queensland. Known as the beef capital of Australia, few realise just how much this city and its immediate surrounds have to offer, with the Capricorn Coast less than an hour away. It's hard to go past the fact that beef is a big part of Rockhampton's economy and existence, however, with reminders to be found throughout the town. The mighty Fitzroy River ensures Rockhampton parks and gardens stay green in even the hottest of summers, and they're a dramatic contrast to the reds and yellows of inland Australia. So that brings our program to an end. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into some of the more remote locations of Northern Australia. We're back in Rockhampton now at our local hotel, and we've got more than a few stories to tell after a couple of months on the road. If you visit the places we've been to, leave them the way you found them for the next generation. Don't destroy what you came to enjoy. Thanks for watching Top End Safari.
Drove me near insane, up to Tin Can Bay, back to Lover's Lane. I was looking at her, now she's looking at me, and all I'm gonna say is let your hearts down. All I gotta say is let your hearts down. A cowboy from the land of the Triple C, and all it's gonna say is let your harness down. All it's gonna say is let your harness down. All it's gonna say is let your harness down.